Now, my last response will be to BeechGroveJoe. Unlike the other ones, I'm actually going to read all his responses. Uh, because I think his responses reveal the level of character this person has. And again, it shows the type of person that supports forced circumcision. That is, imposing your will in a way that amputates someone else's body part. Um, with very little justification. Even if you can find justification, it's so minimal. Um, Apparently, unless you're in sub-Saharan Africa. Um, but even that data is fuzzy. Okay. If these comments are not in the perfect order, it's YouTube's fault because of how they did this shit. All retarded like. Alright. His response to you, James. So they have the same rights, but they can't use them. So being able to select where to live, what schools to go to, what religion to practice, are not control over the child's life and future. In addition, cite the cases where a parent has been challenged by doctors about circumcision. Put on hold is Put on hold is the same as eliminated until adulthood, and the fact that you declare it as harm is also irrelevant. In addition, it is not your right to decide what is necessary. You are imposing your beliefs. You James' response to you was, Dear Joe, this debate is becoming pointless. You can't tell the difference between parents making decisions for the benefit of the child and imposing their will on them. You want parents to be able to circumcise their children, full stop. And you nitpick and accuse me of denying rights because the only reason you can give are because they want to, because they can, because they know they can get away with it, and because it seems like a good idea at the time. Your response to him was, by definition, parents impose their will on kids every second of the day. Pretending a parent-child relationship is the same as an adult misses the point. But that is the parent's right, to impose their will simply because they want to. Wow. The ethical problem you are missing is that you are taking away some of the parent's rights, just the same as the anti-abortion nuts take away some parental rights. You are imposing your beliefs on the parents. So, okay, what about the right to tie your child down and beat them with chains? You might say that that's not for the benefit of the child, but that'll humble them. The parent might believe he has the right to do that. Why do you think that's not okay? And the wounds might heal if you. Um, they should be all right. I mean, there's no more complications that can arise from whipping your child with chains if you're careful. I mean, even if you break the skin, it'll heal. So what's the difference? What is the instinctive difference between putting a child in timeout and whipping them with chains? If you don't know the difference, then you're a sociopath. Um, so your argument's invalid. You know there's a difference between simply doing something because you believe it's right and just doing something because you want to. The type of parent who impose their will on a child just because they want to are called a bad parent, authoritarian, and they don't give a shit about their kids. It's just that simple. Um, King's Indian CR's response was, but this is the parent, or he quoted your line, this is the parent's right to impose their will simply because they want to. No, it isn't, because children are incapable of making full informed decisions. Parent guardians are recognized as having a level of custody over their children, but this is conditional on them acting in the best interest of the child. That makes it a privilege, not a right. It's not a right, it's a privilege. You had a child. They are not your fucking slave. okay? Your type of parenting mentality is the same type of parenting mentality that had that kid beat to death recently. Why? Because that kid was their property. It's up to the parents to decide what the appropriate level of discipline is, and anyone stepping in any way is taking away the parents' rights. Yeah, we are taking away your privilege to beat your child to death. That's not a privilege you have. Just as we're taking away your right to strap a child to a table and cut off an extremely sensitive part of their sexual organs for no fucking reason. I don't know why you're so obsessed with being able to do that. That's crazy. But the only right that is being denied is, therefore, one that isn't right under James's definition of ethics. Your response to him was, as expected, grow and pull your head out of your ass. Only people that are without children or are not circumcised will make that stupid childish argument. After you have some kids, you have a leg to stand on. Before that, you're just an idealistic twat that wants to impose your beliefs on others because what you are doing doesn't impact you. You don't get to decide what is in the best interest of the child. The parent does. James' ethics are not the law. They are ideology, plain and simple. Okay. The law does not judge what is right or wrong. The law tries its best to keep order. It was the law before to tell two adults, that if they were different races, they didn't have the right to marry. And if you say, well, an adult relationship is different, you had the right in the past to beat your child near to death. In fact, parents who did beat their children to death could simply say it was an accident and got away with it. You had to, little by little, our society is becoming more ethical. The fact that you have children doesn't mean shit. You could be a fucking cunt as a parent for all we know. And by the way, if you're angry at me for saying that, you shouldn't have brought your parentness into the argument. Only people that are without children or are not circumcised would make that stupid childish argument. He didn't make an argument. He showed you the definition between just telling your children what to do because you want it, because you get your rocks off, and doing something on behalf of your child. Understanding that parenting a child is a privilege. If you don't feed your child, if you lock your child in a room, if you whip your child with chains, you lose that privilege. Yeah, they're another human being. Raising them is a privilege. If you abuse that, you get them taken away. Saying that James' ethics are not the law are irrelevant. It's not ideology. Ideology, by that definition, if you're talking about James's definition, is completely different. If you mean ideology as in a belief, well, I believe that female circumcision is wrong. You realize your same arguments can be used for female circumcision. I don't understand why you don't see the difference. If parents have the right to remove the foreskin, why don't they have the right to excise the clitoris? It's their child. Their child belongs to them, right? It's their property. His response was, "Oh, good Lord, I expected something at least halfway intellectual as a response, rather than bare assertion and simple, pathetic ad hominem bashing. In any case, thanks for the laugh. Are you just so stupid that you don't consider you, James, as an uncircumcised man without children that says he will never have children and has spoken several times about how badly his mother treated him? What the fuck is wrong with you? Unless all people who are against circumcision happen to be uncircumcised. I'm uncircumcised. I'm not against the idea of never having children. My dad's circumcised. I mean, I am circumcised. I'm sorry. My dad's circumcised. He has children. After showing him this data, he agrees with me. Who the fuck do you think you are? You think just because you fucked some chick and spit out some kids that gives you some fucking special knowledge? No. You know what? You're no better than a fucking guy who just fucks chicks and then, you know, treats his kid like shit. I don't know how you treat your kids, but does he also have that special knowledge you have? Do you consider yourself on par with someone who doesn't take care of their kids because he also has kids? Doesn't he have the same right to say the same bullshit you're saying? If your answer is no, then you know you're full of shit. Oh god, your response is just so scum. You truly view children as just property, don't you? Scumbag. Um, the question must be addressed of him simply lashing out at other parents in response to his mother's actions. What? His mother didn't circumcise him. So what? That doesn't make any sense. If maybe his mother circumcised him and he was angry about that, maybe I could at least see where you're going. But because he had a mother that wasn't too good to him, that means he's biased about circumcision. He's not circumcised. You just contradicted yourself. If you think this question is not fair game, then you are simply being intellectually dishonest. Pushing laws based on personal basis is always a problem. Female circumcision, anyone? It's my personal opinion that when you hold down a baby, no matter how old she is, whether she's newborn, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 14, and you slice off her fucking clitoral hood, a law should be made against that. You're right, that is my opinion. But it also causes harm. That is to say, just because something's an opinion doesn't mean it's also true. For instance, it is my opinion that the sky is blue. It is also blue. The sky is indeed blue. Now you could say the sky is clear and that's the light reflecting. Fine. But it appears blue to me. Yeah, you want to talk about making laws? It's my opinion that 7 guys can't come in here and stab the shit out of me and rape me. I have strong opinions on getting raped and stabbed by multiple men. In fact, I'm emphatically against it. But that doesn't make it... That doesn't mean I am biased against it, but it's also the wrong thing to do to me. What is wrong with you? Are you really so vacuous? Alright. Maybe they're getting a laugh, but you're just frustrating the crap out of me. And what scares me is you keep saying that if you don't have a child, you don't have the right. You realize that's the same thing abusers say, right? You know, I have children, you don't understand. They need to be hit sometimes. Yet they're beating the shit out of their children every day. But no. It's the parents' right. You don't have the right. How dare you question my parenting style? Fuck you. And I know you're going to leave because I said a bad word. But this is for other people to see what you are. Klingshaw's response was, sorry, but all I see here is someone who has no argument, therefore has to use ad hominem attacks without attempting to address the actual ethical issues, because it's the only weapon he's got, which is true. Look, dumbass, I am expressing the reasons you, James's position is not accepted in modern society. No, you weren't. You are now. You're backpedaling because you're a coward. I am not making an argument opposed to his positions, nor am I declaring his positions wrong. Yes, you fucking did. Now you're backpedaling like the coward you are. I am stating why I and most sane adults don't accept his position. Then you are making an argument as to why he's wrong. Not accepting his position is akin to saying he's wrong. For instance, I don't accept your position that 2 plus 2 equals banana. Now, I don't think you actually hold that opinion, but that's also saying that I think you're wrong. I don't accept your claim. If you cannot get that Labeling a position as ethical doesn't hold much weight. Maybe you need to take a class in ethics and learn what the subject is about. Ethics is not an argument over better morality. You have no idea what you're talking about. You need to take an ethics class. In fact, ethics is the perfect word. Medical ethics. You're not allowed to do a cosmetic surgery on someone who's in unable to consent. It is against ethics. It's literally against medical ethics. Just because they make exceptions for male circumcision where they don't for female circumcision, it doesn't mean it's right. It just means that they're making exceptions that they shouldn't make. It is a matter of ethics. By definition, it's medical ethics, which is very similar to applied ethics. Don't cause harm. If you want to talk about what is harm, we can do that. But you're wrong about the ethics thing. Declaring something ethical holds weight if you have evidence to support that. Or that is to say, if they can't define it as, if they can't show that it's unethical, by definition it's ethical. This can be shown to be unethical. Nice backpedal there. Yeah, see, he saw it too. If all you're doing is stating the reasons why, then why are you still here? Why are you still here? Why didn't you leave us alone when we weren't convinced? And simply labeling a position as ethical without backing it up doesn't hold much weight. But at the same time, nor does labeling a position sane without backing it up, which is exactly what you did. Most sane adults, actually, you're in the minority. The rest of the world is waking up, and you're not. You have no backing except it's the law. Sometimes the law is wrong. It was the law to circumcise your baby girls. Now it's against the law. I am not trying to convince anybody. That is what you are doing. I am just listening to see if your arguments have any weight. You're so full of crap. It's as if you are claiming that I am pestering you because you don't want to be bothered with defending your position. Oh, please, you've given no defenses for your position other than, yeah, parents have the right to impose their will on children. For all intents and purposes, children are slaves. You realize that's what you're categorizing children as. You have the right to impose your will to any degree. I mean, they're yours. Back it up with what? Ethics is about you personally sticking to your... No, it's fucking not. When it is imposed on others, it is called morality. Unethical behavior is when a person does something that is opposed to their stated personal ethics. No. There is something called medical ethics. There is more than one definition of ethics. That doesn't mean I'm talking about different ideas of ethics. No, there are different schools of ethics that are talking about different things. Your definition of ethics is a definition of ethics. We're talking about medical or applied ethics. Doing something against someone's will without any real reason to do it, without a medical reason to do it, and violating their bodily autonomy. I cannot arbitrarily decide to put a colostomy bag in my child if they found out that it reduced colon cancer, if no feces ever touched his colon, and I decided to put a colostomy in there. Does that make that right because I made the decision for him as a baby? No, that's wrong. If it prevents like a 1% chance of preventing colon cancer, you know nothing. You are vacuous. His response was, I think you'll find that you did a bit more than just listening. You did. You're so full of crap. You asserted that parents have the right to impose their will on their children simply because they want to. No, they don't. They have that privilege in certain circumstances. I offered an alternative, and you lashed out and stated whining and screaming at me like a child. You did. How dare you say anything? You don't have children. You're not circumcised. That's an argument from authority, and it's crap, and you know it. Anyway, we'd probably best stop this now. It's not a productive use of my time, or of yours. It is a productive use of my time because other people are seeing the scum that you are. I'm just stating that the practical effects of the laws now. No, no, you're not. You are making arguments based on your definition, how you think it should be. Your justification are basically that you believe a certain way, and so therefore the law should be changed to conform to your belief, to your reason. That's how laws are made. Laws are made by people taking grievances to the courts, proposing a bill. The bill is contemplated, voted on, by the judicial branch of the government. What is wrong with you? I'm sorry, legislative and judicial branch. That why you what you just said makes no sense. You defined what a law is. A large group of people show how something causes harm. They then show how this thing is unnecessary. They push for their politicians to put forth the bill. They put that bill through. If it passes, it becomes law. That's the definition of what did you think the laws were there when we were born? Like the laws sort of just formed out of nothing? Laws are people's opinion on what should happen. They're there to protect people, including children who are born and want to have their intact genitals. I think you'll find that most children want their genitals intact, especially when that first cut starts going into their flesh. They protest. They protest vehemently. However, when your position is viewed from the standpoint of a person that doesn't accept your position, it appears that you are simply pushing a religious agenda. It may appear that way. That is not the case. It can be shown not to be the case. It's not productive to you for obvious reasons. Sorry, but I didn't even comment on how I thought the laws should be changed, if at all. He didn't. Or even on the issue of circumcision. I only responded to your assertion that parents have the right to impose their will on their children simply because they want to. Now, if you wanted to present a case that banning male circumcision wouldn't work, I'd be willing to listen. Simply asserting that it's a parental right, however, is insufficient. As we've seen, it just leads to a stalemate. And it does, because it's no different from a parent saying that they have the right to beat their child with whips. It's no different from a parent saying that they have the right to remove their baby girl's clitoral hood, or their baby girl's labia, or if it's just general that they have the right to do it. Hell, their baby girl's clitoris. Where is the line? Okay, if you can mutilate your child's genitals and it's your choice, where's the line? So you missed that part where James is calling for a ban on circumcision. No, he didn't. He was replying to your statement. Your ignorant and bigoted and terrifying statement. So telling a child to go to bed at 8 p.m. is not imposing your will on the child because they want to. No, that's doing something for the child's best interest. Telling a child to go to bed at 8 p.m. doesn't remove a part of their body. LOL. Ah, you're laughing. I guess it's understandable if you are going to try to make an argument that circumcision is harm. Circumcision is harm. If it's harm for girls, it's harm for boys. If it's the same flesh, and it is the same flesh, then it's harm for both of them. It harms them in the literal sense. You're taking a knife and removing a piece of flesh you didn't have to against someone's will. If a parent holds their child down and says, I don't think this child should have the earlobes, I think they're ugly. Why is that not okay? And you can appeal to the law, but again, the law says circumcision is wrong for females. Not doing that for males too is unconstitutional. No, you missed that rights as defined by law are very relevant. I am not saying it wouldn't work. I'm saying that it is the removal of an established parental and religious rights in law. Okay. Men have the right to beat their wives in some countries in the Middle East. Removing that right would be a violation of the law. would be removing their rights under the law. And if you're going to say, well, they're adults, that's different. Okay, men have the right to beat the crap out of their teenagers and young girls, little girls. They can beat them as much as they want, almost to death, and no one is allowed to say anything. Um, they can even kill their children if it's an honor killing or some shit. In some countries, not all of them, in those countries, that is their right. So, by those same arguments, we shouldn't fight to take away those rights because it's their right. Hell, again, female circumcision. In those countries, it's their rights. We are. Uh, does that mean it's actually right to do? No. Just because the law says something is a right does not mean it actually falls under the category of rights. If something is not right for everyone, then it is not right for any. It is not a right at that point. It's a privilege. That's why we can't say we all have the right to marry except for gays. No, then it's not a right. It's a privilege. So he is indeed. However, I am not you, James. I am not attempting to make that argument. Apart from in my previous comment, I haven't even mentioned circumcision, let alone attempted to argue either way on it. So you were talking about a similar but unrealistic or unrelated topic. No, he was arguing about your statement, you coward. Maybe if you would talk about the same subject I have been talking about all along, we could get somewhere. Circumcision is just a convenient parental act where there is considerable disagreement. No, you can't. Circumcision harms the child. There is no other version of this where there's like the earlobe removal debate. You notice that circumcision is the um, only debate where it involves removing the flesh of a child very often without anesthetic for no reason except that the parent thinks it looks better. How do you not see that? And the HIV debate, yet it's not okay for girls, which makes it unconstitutional. The law is unconstitutional. When a law is unconstitutional, it needs to be fought against. It, by definition, is not a right because it's unconstitutional. If you're going to give the law weight, you're going to have to give the Constitution weight too. So telling a child to go, wow, King's Indian quoted your thing about the 8 a.m. thing, that moronic statement, which is really pathetic. Congrats, nice straw man there. I acknowledge that parents have the privilege to make decisions on the behalf of their child, as did you, James. However, I do not acknowledge that these constitute rights because they are conditional on the parents acting in the best interest of the child. If the data does not support circumcision being in the best interest of the child, or it violates the child's right to bodily autonomy, and if you say they don't have the right to bodily autonomy, again, why can't you remove a toe here or there? And if you're going to say because it's against the law, well, then you're switching subjects. You keep switching from what's the law to what's a parent's right. Um, So what you are doing is trying to define rights in a different way than the law as justification for changing the law. Yes, the law when it's wrong should be changed. The law is not always right. Okay, I wouldn't exist if the law was always right. Yeah, rights do not fall. The law does not give us our rights. We have inalienable rights based on what best benefits all of us. If you have your freedom to do what you want to your body, just as I cannot slice a baby girl's clitoris off, I should not be able to slice a baby boy's clitoris off. Why do girls have rights but boys don't? Yeah, it was never defined as what the law is. Rights were never defined as what the law is. You have rights under the law. That is, the law might agree with your rights, but that is rights under the law. That's not rights because of the law. Okay? What you don't seem to get is that what our best what are the best child's interest what are in the best interest of the child are defined in law to be what the parent decides, not yours or the child. That's what we're arguing against. We're arguing against that. We're saying we want to change the law so that it's in the child's best interest because that is what is ethical. If the law suddenly decided that I can chop you into pieces, do you agree with that law? And don't give me that parent-child crap. I've already talked about the female circumcision. So you're full of crap. The state can impose itself if there is consensus that some act is harmful. Arguments declaring circumcision harmful appear to be generally unconvincing given the current laws in most countries. That's actually the opposite of the truth. Most countries don't recommend or male circumcision. Um, in many of them, it's illegal, and female circumcision is illegal in all those countries, which again is sexist. It's not fair. I don't want female circumcision to be legal, but I want boys to have the same rights that girls have. Um, it's Victorian age bullshit. Um, he's not declaring it harmful. The data suggests that it's harmful. And by definition, it's harming. You're taking a knife to someone's flesh unnecessarily. Uh, but you don't seem. Can you please cite your sources? Oh, that's another thing. He's right. You never cite anything. You never give any reasons for why you believe what you believe. You just declare things. Um, so what? Most countries don't recognize same-sex marriage either. Is that a compelling argument against it? By your definitions, it should be. Um, uh, your response is walk into family court and observe, dumbass. Once again, dumbass, if you think you can change the laws with such lame arguments, give it a try. But the last attempt to try this got the law enshrined in law, then makes it illegal for cities to outlaw circumcision. Um, if you think you can change the laws, we're gonna try. Um, and we don't have lame arguments. You just have no arguments. Also, same-sex marriage is between two adults. Okay, I guess adults have the right to bodily autonomy and to not have knives cutting into them, but children don't have the simple right to not have someone mutilate their genitals. Oh man, there's a lot of child murderers who would love you, dude. That's not the same thing as a child-parent relationship. Parenting, they are the same as quite pretending they are the same is quite childish. The position of a child. Well then I'm childish too. I'm angry that someone took a knife to my genitals and removed sensitive portions of my genitals against my will. That infuriates me. Every time I think about it, it makes me angry. That's why I don't make videos about this, because it fucking pisses me off. It was my body. I don't care if they thought it was a good idea. It was my body. And I hate that my parents were deceived on this. No, you do not have the right to take a knife to someone else's body for no fucking reason. An incredibly small statistical change in STD transmission is no more valid for boys than it would be for girls. Since the same cells are present, you're going to have to make the same argument for girls. I dare you to make a pro-female circumcision video. I dare you. No, you missed the rights are defined very rarely, blah, blah, blah. Perhaps this is why we are failing to communicate. I was referring not to legal rights, but to rights under you, James' definition of ethics, which is something I thought I had made clear in my original comment. He did. He's talking about applied ethics or medical ethics, the actual right for someone to not be mutilated. So how does you, James' ethical justifications help to convince the electorate to change the law? Yes, if you want to accept his worldview, it makes sense. But you got to question someone who thinks that their worldview should be enacted into law. Everyone thinks that. I'm sure you think that people shouldn't murder each other. Oh, wait. They should be able to murder their child. I mean, they're just imposing their will on their child. Uh, well, what if a parent thinks that children don't feel enough pain and they want to punch their child in the face? Well, they should be able to do that, right? I mean, they have the right to impose their will on their children. It's their choice. Who are we to say otherwise? We're not parents. Pretending you are not doing harm by imposing your beliefs on others, especially when it doesn't impact you, is highly suspect. That is fucking retarded. And until you can convince the majority that circumcision is harm, his position doesn't have a leg to stand on. Since when does how many people agree with you have anything to do with what is right or wrong? That's morality. Morality is consensus. Morality is just when most people in society agree with you. Um, you know what they used to do? They used to circumcise kids when they masturbated. They cured the problem by circumcising them, both girls and boys. That was the moral consensus. And yet again, you failed to respond to what I've said and simply attempted to change the subject. I shan't waste any more time with you. Goodbye. And this is your response, your arrogant fucking response. So it sounds like you are beginning to see that your arguments are not convincing. So you are going to retreat and try again another day. Good luck with that. The same thing every person who has no argument does. You fail, revert to ad hominems, start straw manning, and then declare victory. Congratulations. How long have you been a creationist? Uh, his response is, again, he's still calm. In fact, that's not the reason. It's because you have repeatedly misrepresented and strawman not only my claims, but also those of all the other people you've been discussing things with recently. Whilst doing so, you have been highly aggressive, attacking and insulting us, making baseless accusations, and generally being downright rude. I can't tell whether you're trolling or you genuinely think you're poning us. And if I'm completely honest, I don't know which is sadder. Your response was, well, that would be the appropriate response to a group of stupid kiddies who are using highly aggressive tactics of accusing others of hurting their children. And this is where the core is. This is the core, and I'll get to it in a minute. With baseless claims that it is harm when only a few small backwards countries consider it harm. The sad thing is, this is a group of moron activists that don't understand the reality of politics on this planet, trying to outlaw something because it's against their religious views. Christian lights trying to outlaw abortion light. What? I don't know what the fuck that last sentence meant. Um, that's where it comes from, isn't it? You're one of the people I mentioned earlier. You're one of the parents who can't handle the idea that they did something wrong to their children. You are so transparent. I can see through you as through a pane of glass. And I'm making this video so everyone can see through you. Because you have been doing this recently. You've been attacking people and then claiming victory. Everyone will see through you now. Well, not everyone. Not everyone watches this video. You're probably not going to respond to this. I dare you to. I dare you to make a pro-female circumcision video, because your same arguments that you're using for male circumcision could be used for female circumcision. Let's see how long it takes for people to argue you off the internet. Let's see how long. Go ahead. The rest of All right, that was Beach something Joe's conversation with Klingshaw. Part 4 will be my exchange with Klingshaw, or Beach Joe fucker.